This video contains elements that are not suitable for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, won't you play another somebody done somebody wrong song?
Is it even possible for me to go through one of these retro lists without making at least one pick that makes me look like an asshole? Yep, this is how we're starting part 2, folks. Strap yourselves in.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
So, how could I possibly be this heartless? What possibly could have possessed me to name this all-time classic anthem to friendship and love as one of the worst hit songs of the year? Well, honestly, it's just because I hate everybody and I want the world to burn. Next!
While I miss my baby.
Okay, fine. There are a couple more reasons.
I've seen you around for a long, long time. Yeah.
This is one of those songs where it seems weird to think that it was ever an actual hit that charted in the top 10 because it just kind of feels like a song that's always been there. That said, I've never heard this song played on the oldie stations or really anywhere else for that matter. The only place it ever seems to pop up is in movies, usually as either a joke or as a way of showing how cartoonishly pleasant everything is.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
So with all that said, you're probably expecting me to take this song to task as an overly saccharine and schmaltzy piece of crap that's irritating because of just how upbeat and happy it is. And if you're thinking that, then my response to you is... have you ever actually listened to this song? Like, really paid attention to it?
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Let's start with the obvious, the title. The entire 7-person band sings the title, which functions as the hook, together. Uncharacteristically for this band, which is known for making music like this.
Low rider, drives a little slower.
Why Can't We Be Friends takes a pretty slapdash approach to singing in unison, going more for the effect of a chorus of drunken friends all singing together with a jug band-esque aesthetic reminiscent of Mungo Jerry. Now, this would be a completely fine aesthetic choice to emphasize their camaraderie and friendship with each other, if not for the tiny, insignificant little fact that they repeat it 44 times!
Turn it off. Turn it off!
It is always difficult to repeat any phrase that many times without it getting irritating and losing its meaning, but when you add the loose, outside the lines approach to the delivery, it just makes you feel like you're in a bar chant that's been going on for 10 minutes too long and you wish would just stop so you could drink in peace. With that said though, it's not like that's the only line of the song. However much it might seem like that. As a matter of fact, let's look at some of the other lines in this song and check out all the heartwarming displays of friendship and goodwill that this song is offering unto us.
I pay my money to the welfare line. I see you standing in it every time.
Like making fun of people for being on welfare.
I know you're working for the CIA.
And accusing the guy of being a government spy.
They wouldn't have you in the mafia.
And saying that he's such a terrible person that not even the mafia would touch him. Wow, isn't friendship magic?
I call you, but you could not look around.
Yeah, if you actually look at the lyrics, they're really disconnected from each other and really kinda bitter. Honestly, the more you look at it, the more the message of the song seems to be less, come on everybody, let's be friends, and more of,
he's an asshole.
The color of your skin don't matter to me.
let's be real, the only reason that this song has a reputation as this great anthem of friendship is because of this line right here, and yeah, that's a good line, however on the nose it might be. But the rest of the song is either an annoying barrage of endlessly repeating lyrics at best, and actively sabotaging its own message at worst. I have no idea what the thought process was when putting this song together, but I have no hesitation in saying that Why Can't We Be Friends by War is one of my least favorite hit songs of the year. And if you take issue with that, then please feel free to forward all hate mail to caseyfay-wolfe@yahoo.com.
And make me feel at home while I miss my baby, while I miss my baby.
At the beginning of part 1 of this video, I was talking all about the genres of music that bubbled up into the mainstream this year, such as R&B, rock, soul, funk, and early disco. However, there is one other genre that was popular in '75 that I didn't mention, which is kind of ironic considering that it was far and away the biggest genre of the entire year.
Well, life on the farm is kinda laid back, ain't much an old country boy like me can't hack.
Yes, 1975 might not have had much of a real musical identity overall, but if it did have one, it would be as the single most successful year in country music history. If you think that 2019 has been a big year for country, try imagining a year where no less than 6 different country songs all managed to hit #1 on the Hot 100. Apparently, in the midst of the changing tides of music, the traditions of country were the one common ground that the music-buying public agreed to settle on above all else. Some of those hits were even pretty good. Others were this.
I'm not Lisa.
And here we have another entry in the My Eyes Adored You category, in that I really have no idea what would ever motivate anybody to listen to this. Now, that might seem kinda weird. I mean, at face value, this song doesn't seem that strange, it's just another song named after a girl. To put it mildly, this idea has been touched on before.
Rosanna, Roxanne, Michelle, Allison, Sarah, Angie, Brandy, Mandy, Gloria, Cecilia, Maggie Mae, Jessica, Nancy, Barbara Ann, Billie Jean, Layla, Lola, Polly, Helena, Jenny from the block. Name 6 more. Sherry, Laura, Wendy, Maria, Peggy Sue, Minnie the Moocher. Name 5 more. Tracy, Jean, Jane, Mary Ann, Eleanor Rigby. Go f*** yourself.
Lisa.
However, when you put the name of a specific person in the title of your song, you're accepting the responsibility of having a character in your song, which has the potential to backfire if you don't know what you're doing. Take Carrie by Europe, for example. It's supposed to be this angsty breakup anthem, but they're severely limiting any appeal it might have by naming the girl in the chorus, effectively making it so that it honestly only appeals to someone who just broke up with a girl named Carrie. I'm Not Lisa has the same problem, but notched up to the nth degree.
I'm not Lisa. My name is Julie.
Okay, so now we no longer have an I. We now have Julie, taking the place of you, the listener, as the main character of this song. It's kind of bizarre considering that neither the singer nor the songwriter are named Julie, but whatever. So now we've got 2 named characters, which kinda kills any sense of immersion the song might have been going for, but still, that's not automatically a bad thing. One of my favorite songs of all time, From Above by Ben Folds, gets its themes across entirely through narrating about characters from a third-person perspective. It can be very effective when done well. I'm Not Lisa does not do it well. As a matter of fact, it's actually kind of fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen a song that fails in quite the same way that this one does. To explain why, let's start with the song's only verse, because it's really straightforward. This guy loved Lisa with all his heart, she left him for another guy, and he's been heartbroken ever since. Okay, well done, song. You have established sympathy for this guy. He is sad, and he misses Lisa. Very easy to understand. Since there are no other verses left, we've just got the chorus to really drive home what Julie's got to do with this relationship and why we should care. So, come on, song. Let's hear what you got.
I'm not Lisa. My name is Julie. Lisa left you. leave you till the sunlight has touched your face.
Okay, so you're sorry that you're not Lisa, and you're sorry that you don't look like Lisa, but you're still gonna leave this guy as soon as the sun comes up. You didn't help him get over Lisa, he doesn't care about you, and ultimately your relationship means nothing to either of you. So, why am I listening to this?
Lisa.
Like, seriously, this song is almost uniquely meaningless. It's just a guy feeling shitty about the world and a girl who isn't able to help and doesn't particularly seem to even care that much. There's no change, there's no growth, there's no lessons learned or character dynamics, there's nothing. It just starts at this depressing neutral and just stays there and never goes anywhere from it. No matter what character you identify with in this story, there is just no catharsis to be found in any of their interactions. I mean, I could forgive the lack of character progression if this song had some appeal outside of its narrative, but I mean, listen to it. It's this quiet, subdued, excruciatingly slow country song that's clearly trying to bank on its emotional power, but it doesn't have any. I'm Not Lisa is, with no exaggeration, the single most useless song I have ever heard in my life. It absolutely boggles my mind that this was a top 5 hit, that a huge portion of the country listened to this and found something within it to connect to. There's a pretty good chance I might drive myself insane trying to figure it out, so I'm just gonna cut myself off here. You might be wondering how there are possibly 3 songs this year that were worse than this, and the answer to that is pretty simple. This might be the most useless song I've ever heard, but there are worse things in this world than being useless. For example.
So play for me a sad melody, so sad that it makes everybody cry. Everything is beautiful.
One thing that's pretty commonly understood about the 70s is that they were a simpler, more innocent time. A time when people were generally more carefree and we worried less about implications than we do today. One thing that's less discussed about the 70s is that it's an era before MTV, when star power really wasn't as big a thing as it is today. Don't get me wrong, the best-selling singers and musicians were still celebrities, but they were still seen as just people who made music, and their personal lives didn't really affect how people listen to the songs the way they do today. So when you combine both the innocence of the 70s and the artist disconnect of the 70s, and then view music from back then through a modern lens, things can get weird.
But he lived on the morning side of the mountain.
Believe it or not, I'm not blurring this for copyright this time. I've actually blurred both the video and the names of the artists intentionally because I want to look at the song itself before we talk about who made it. I know that some of you probably already know where this is going, but just bear with me for a second. Because honestly, if you don't know or care who wrote this song, then this isn't terrible. It's boring. It's just a thoroughly unremarkable and uninteresting song that honestly approaches My Eyes Adored You levels of lameness. However, unlike My Eyes Adored You, I can actually understand why someone back in the day would want to pick this up. It's just another silly love song, and as the biggest hit of the next year would clearly establish, there's nothing wrong with that. Believe it or not though, I'm willing to bet that a significant number of this song's buyers were nostalgic adults, because this song honestly sounds dated even compared to everything else around it. Which is saying a lot when you're talking about the mid-70s.
And every day must have a deal.
With the excessive use of strings, the choral backings, and the upbeat 12/8 time signature, this sounds more like it came out of the late 50s than the 70s. It's kind of weird to call a song from this time period a throwback, but that's exactly what we have here. A throwback to the 1950s where two lovers sing about their longing for each other despite the literal mountain between them. Kind of funny considering that both singers were actually born in the late 1950s. In the same house.
But you are on the morning side of the mountain.
Yep, this song is performed by Donnie and Marie Osmond. You know, the brother and sister duo, singing about these estranged lovers and how dearly they yearn for each other's lips.
They never met, they never kissed, they will never know what happiness they missed.
It was a different time. Like I said before, people thought about things differently back then. They didn't really hear a brother and sister singing about wanting to make out, they just heard male and female voices singing about wanting to make out. But, I mean, really? Nobody back then thought that this was even just a little bit odd? Did people seriously not get weirded out when they literally saw the names Donnie and Marie on the single cover with their shared last name highlighted in bright yellow bold font? Okay, let's just take a step back from this. I mean, I guess if you look at it objectively, it's not really that bad. After all, they're just singing about a boy and a girl who were longing for each other, right?
But he lived on the morning side of the mountain, and she lived on the twilight side of the hill.
Yeah, you see that? They're saying she and he. It's all in the third person. They're just narrating the stories of these strangers who were longing for each other. I mean, I won't say that that's not still kind of weird, but at the very least, I don't see anything to suggest that...
And you and I are just like they. Oh, we know our love is just a kiss away.
Marie?
Yeah, Donnie?
We cannot tell Mom.
I didn't want to use two Family Guy clips in back-to-back segments, but you forced my hand, you weird people!
For all we know, our love is just a kiss away.
I said a couple videos back that the 70s had an astonishing lack of self-awareness, and this is probably the best example of that I can think of. It seems like the running theme of this year has been songs with concepts that I can't believe managed to find big enough audiences to break into the top 10. And not only did Morning Side of the Mountain find a musical audience, but apparently the general public of 1975 found the chemistry between Donnie and Marie on this song to be so strong that they were given their own primetime variety show the following year. And by 77, Donny Osmond had become known across the nation as one of America's most eligible bachelors. That's right, the biggest teen idol of the 70s was vaulted into heartthrob status by a chintzy love song where he fantasizes about making out with his sister. This decade scares me, and frankly, I'm glad I wasn't alive to see it.
'Cause I don't want to cry all alone.
So, what could possibly be worse than an incest soundtrack becoming a top 10 hit? Yeah, that'll do it.
'Cause loving you has made my life so beautiful.
Look, I don't want to be too hard on Minnie Sorry, can we fix this, please? Thank you. Anyways, I don't want to be too harsh on Minnie Riperton, who died at the age of 31 and was by all accounts one of the kindest human beings that you'd ever meet. Beyond that, she was also a very talented artist, and it was a tragedy that she was taken so soon. But with that being said... oh god, this song. If I had to describe the sensation of listening to this song, I would liken it to slowly drowning in an ocean of viscous sugar while a bird perches on your shoulder and chirps directly into your ear. Lovin' You is quite possibly the single sappiest, most saccharine song ever to touch the Hot 100. It goes so far down the rabbit hole of unthreatening pleasantness that it comes full circle and starts to become unnerving again. Tell me that this song sounds out of place if I play it over this.
And everything that I do is out of love and you.
Apparently, Ripperton wrote this song as a lullaby for her newborn daughter, but then realized that she actually wanted people to buy it, and so she changed it halfway through into a song about making love with her husband. And yeah, it sounds like a lullaby with a bunch of sex references crammed in there at the last minute.
And every time that I'm more in love with you.
Just hearing lines that explicit mixed in with the sugary production and the birds chirping in the background, it's just too much. I've used the term sickeningly sweet to describe a few things, but I think this is the first song I've ever heard that makes me actually feel sick with how sweet it is. It's a musical tummy ache is what it is, and it's not like the unexplicit lyrics are any better.
No one else can make me feel the colors that you bring.
It's desperately trying to be just so loathsomely, detestably cute and pleasant, but it can't even do it right. It can't be really cute because Minnie's forcing me to think of her O face, and it can't be pleasant because... No! We are not cleaning that up again.
And every day of my life is filled with love and you.
Honestly, the more I look into this song and learn about it, the more facts I discover that makes its existence even more unbelievable. I mean, not only was this a #1 hit that was certified platinum, but it was also produced by, and I swear I am not making this up, Stevie Wonder. Yes, apparently these weightless guitars, cheap electric pianos, and fucking bird chirps came from the mind of one of the greatest funk musicians of all time. And you know how I originally said that this song was written as a lullaby for Ripperton's daughter? Well, she may have ended up taking the song in a different direction by serenading her own orgasms, but that doesn't mean she can't still chant her daughter's name at the end.
Maya, 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 Maya.
But wait, it gets even better, because apparently when this song was released to the radio, they cut the chant out. Not because it's fucking disgusting to have it in there at all, but because people thought the chant at the end was some sort of satanic summoning ritual. And you know what? I don't think they were even entirely wrong about that, especially when you consider that daughter that Ripperton was singing about was Maya Rudolph, who would grow up to be the voice of Smiler, the main villain of the Emoji Movie. Lovin' You by Minnie Ripperton is one of the most saccharine, uncomfortable, misconceived pieces of music I've ever heard in my life, but I won't lie to you, it's brought me far more joy than suffering. Everything about this song is a parody of itself, and I can't even think about this song's existence without bursting out laughing, which unfortunately is not something I can say of my #1 pick. But before we get to that, let's get through some honorable mentions.
Another somebody done somebody wrong song and make me feel at home.
Love will keep us together.
I typically listen to all the songs on a year-end list from top to bottom, you know, the biggest hit of the year down to the 100th biggest. And I have to say, as a first impression of 1975, this song almost single-handedly made me look for another year of the 70s to talk about instead of this one. Luckily, the majority of the hits from this year weren't as chintzy and cheap-sounding as this is, but that doesn't make this song any less embarrassing. Also, I don't know how wise it was to call your song Love Will Keep Us Together, and then focus entirely on the importance of looks throughout the song.
When the others turn you off, who'll be turning you off?
Song of the year, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't you know that what is she? She's some kind of wonderful. Yes, she is. She's some kind of wonderful.
God, these guys are lame. I wasn't actually gonna put this on the list, but back in '75, there was an error in Billboard's calculations that resulted in this song being put at #6 on the year-end list instead of its proper spot at 74, meaning that there are now 2 different year-end lists for 1975, which has honestly just made listing all the year-end numbers way more of a hassle than it needed to be. Thanks, guys.
Feelings for my life, I'm feeling.
Trap money, Benny. This shit got me in my feelings. Morris, do you love me? Are you right?
If it brings you happiness.
Oh my god, how did Gene Shalit get the voice of Jim Henson with his balls cut off?
I don't like sleep alone.
Ah, yes, the other Paul Anka Odia Coates collab on the year-end list. This song is the most nondescript out of the 3 songs by this pair I've talked about, and it honestly would have dodged the dishonorable mention, if not for one little line snuck in at the end that really rubs me the wrong way.
No, I don't like to sleep alone. It's sad to think some folks do.
I will selfishly take a little for myself.
Oh, for God's sake, show some tact, you creep. This is Get Dancin' by Discotex and his Sexolettes. It's about a man named Discotex dancing with his Sexolettes. He tells you multiple times throughout the song that he is named Discotex and he is dancing with his Sexolettes. I don't want to hear a song about Discotex dancing with his Sexolettes.
Listen, honey, I'll even tell you that I love you if you want me to.
Oh boy, a song about an awkward hookup that neither party is enjoying and just wound up awkward and uncomfortable for everyone involved. That sounds fun. Yeah, no. If I want a song about this topic, I'll stick to J. Cole, thank you very much.
And I ain't never did this before, no.
Okay, before I do this last one, I want you to just take a listen to a little bit of this and try to imagine what the person singing it looks like. Here you go.
Without an umbrella, we're soaked to the skin. I feel a shiver run up my spine.
You got that image in your mind? Yeah? Okay. Here's the video.
After a while, we run under a tree. I turn to her and she kisses me.
Yep. Sometimes a song becomes my least favorite of the year because of some sort of deep-seated problematic element that I really need to dig deep to explain in really in-depth detail. But sometimes you just need to read the title. This isn't gonna be fun.
Only women bleed. Only women bleed. Only women bleed.
Well, I guess if nothing else, this song does perfectly demonstrate the diametrically opposite musical forces at work in 1975. If you asked anybody at the time who the biggest musical acts in the world were, they'd probably give you an answer like Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, and yet the only way that one of the all-time greatest gods of shock rock could sneak his way onto the singles charts was by releasing yet another saccharine soft rock ballad. And boy, let me tell you, this song sounds like an attempt at a sappy soft rock ballad written by a god of shock rock. I should probably preface this by saying that I don't know that much about Alice Cooper. I mean, I'm familiar with his aesthetic, this towering titan of hard rock who puts on these high-octane live shows where he flirts around with snakes, electric chairs, and guillotines. He's pretty much the spitting image of the rock star. His songs ranged in topic from torture, venom, and execution to things like the anticipation of the last bell of the school year. To put it simply, Alice Cooper was an adrenaline junkie. If something got his blood pumping, then it was worth writing a song about. And boy oh boy, nothing gets my blood pumping quite like the sad story of a woman suffering passively through an abusive marriage.
He lies right at you. You know you hate this game.
Well, to his credit, thankfully Cooper takes a break from his usual MO for a subject this somber. This is not a song to get your adrenaline pumping, not at all. In fact, it seems like the person that this vampiric, husky-voiced shock rocker is trying to be in this song is Elton John?
She cries alone at night too often.
I mean, I love Elton John as much as the next guy, but are you really playing to your strengths here, Cooper? I mean, I guess it's not totally out of the blue. Cooper seems to be going for a Joe Cocker thing here, where he's trying to show a more empathetic and emotional side of his persona. To put it lightly, it doesn't go well.
She feeds him dinner, anything she can.
Look, I get what Cooper's trying to do here, taking a really depressing subject and dressing it up in a more digestible pop package, but you really can't do that with this subject. I mean, I had my issues with Runaway Love by Ludacris, but at the very least, he understood that he needed to keep the tone somber and serious when he's telling such depressing stories. Only Women Bleed, on the other hand, it sounds carefree.
Only women bleed.
The way that Cooper's singing about this woman's problem seems almost flippant. He doesn't sound moved or saddened by it at all. He just sounds like this is the way the world is and he's just describing it. A song like this can only sound this hopeful if it's about overcoming these struggles and getting out of the abusive relationship. But the worst part, and the reason that this song is the worst hit of the year, it seems like Cooper thinks that this woman can't leave her abusive partner because she's just too in love with him.
Slaps you once in a while and you live in love and pain.
The way he describes these women who are, in his own words, the only ones who bleed, he seems to think that they're literally not capable of doing anything to improve their situations. And there is no better way to demonstrate this mindset than by counting down.
Man got his woman to take his seat. He got the power, she got the need. Having my baby, what a lovely way of saying how much you love me.
Oh, well, this is off to a great start.
Man makes your hair gray, he's your life's mistake.
Yes, Cooper. Clearly the worst part of an abusive relationship for a woman is that it makes her age faster and fucks up her hair. Hit the nail on the head there, buddy.
Slaps you once in a while and you live in love and pain.
Dude, is the flippant tone really necessary there? And on top of that, live and love in pain? You really think these women are staying because they just love their men too much even as they're getting beat up? This is just so many levels of wrong. And speaking of so many levels of wrong, how about that title, huh?
Only women bleed. Only women bleed.
I'm not going to give this title too much flack for the implications that men can't end up in abusive relationships. This song came out in the 70s, and our understanding of domestic violence has evolved exponentially since then. However, the implication that women are the only ones who are even capable of feeling pain and winding up in these situations, presumably based on that last line because Cooper thinks they're just too blinded by their love for their men to see otherwise? Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fucking flack-worthy if you ask me.
Black eyes all of the time. Don't spend a dime.
Okay, dude, calm down. You're not singing a...
Begging to please come watch me, please.
Is this all just another show to you? Dude, you're singing about a woman's misery, a life ruined by falling into the orbit of the wrong person, living each day in perpetual fear and helplessness. So why the hell do you sound so triumphant? No, stop. Stop it. You have not earned those trumpets. You've done nothing in this song but just list off every shitty thing a woman in this situation goes through in the most condescending way imaginable. You've offered no advice to help her, no hope that things will get better, no escapism from her situation. You haven't even conveyed sympathy for her. You're just parroting back every awful thing she goes through in a tone of grand triumph, as if her dealing with these things is some kind of ultimate victory. You are singing about some of the darkest elements of modern society. There is no excuse for you to belt out the line, "Watch me bleed," as if the idea is exciting to you.
Only women bleed. Only women bleed.
Look, I know that there are abusive relationships in the world where one person can't get away from the other, whether that be because of psychological damage, or fear of violence, or dependency, or whatever it may be. It's a huge problem in society, both at the time and today, but the way to reflect it back through art isn't just to say, this is the way things are, especially not with a tone like that. When I hear this song, it sounds like Cooper believes that just acknowledging that domestic abuse exists is one of the grandest and noblest things that can be done. And even ignoring the condescension he shows to the woman in this song, that is not the way to do it. You need to offer people hope, to tell them that this isn't just the way things are, and that they do have the power to improve their own lives. Don't tell her to beg us to watch her bleed. Tell her to run away and never look back. Music has a remarkable power to help people through the hardest times in their lives, but only if we choose to look for the light instead of wallowing in the dark. Only Women Bleed not only wallows in the dark, but through its tone and delivery, it presents that darkness as if it is the light. And frankly, I find that pretty deplorable. Only Women Bleed by Alice Cooper, the worst hit song of 1975.
Ain't seen nothing yet.